Hi, everybody. My name is Amy McDaniels with the Maryland Agricultural Education Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us in the book bag this week. Happy back to school to everybody. And we are really happy to take you through some resources that will get agriculture into your classroom this year. So I'm going to take you through the STEAM portion of our website today and show you some of the lessons and activities that are really good at getting kids hands on materials, get them questioning, get them building, get them really using those critical thinking skills that are so essential to students. And one amazing thing about STEAM is it's everywhere in agriculture. So using STEAM allows you to address the diversity of the careers available to people in agriculture. You could be doing what I'm doing right now and, producing videos for education. I have an agricultural profession, or, you could be managing a huge hydroponics operations. The choices are endless, and it's really vast and very inclusive to all interests. So I think STEAM in particular is really good at exemplifying that fact about agriculture and a way to kind of break down the misconceptions that agriculture is a man standing outside in the field with a pitchfork, digging through the dirt, harvesting crops. That's a huge component of it. It really is very important, but that's not all that agriculture is. And that's what we're trying to express to our students. So I'm going to share my screen with you right now. So you can see where our lessons are housed on the MAVE website. All right, so I took you through the educators tab yesterday, and this is also where it's going to be located. The STEAM lessons are located for elementary school, and these can always be adapted for older grades. You would just use maybe different, more advanced resources and just elevate the content a little bit more, but I think the messages are the same, so it's pretty adaptable. And you would go to STEAM activities down here in the corner. You see some things that they're making here. Click there, and there's a lot of diversity. So we have created, so this is really very hands-on, fun recipes. Cooking in the kitchen introduces students to not only nutrition, but math skills, the ability to follow step-by-step instructions. Recipes and cooking with students is really, really beneficial and something we value because, agriculture puts food on your table. That's another message, we want to relate to students. So we have a few of the activities here. And one of my favorite, just because I've done it so many times, is the Salty Science activity. And this really demonstrates how freshwater and saltwater come together in Maryland and in the Chesapeake Bay. And students are always really blown away by this activity. So when you go into our STEAM activities, it will give you a very brief overview of what we're going to be talking about and a little background information. This would be a great opportunity to assign students some research to find out what an estuary is, talk about what brackish water is. Maybe you can set up some different stations that all surround these vocabulary words for students to rotate through. And then we have an image of the Chesapeake Bay with different levels of salinity. So this, again, gets students thinking about math and ranges in math. And then part one of the experiment is really setting up different cups with varying levels of salt in them, which is going to change the salinity of the water. And very easy, very simple materials and a very simple experiment, but the students really like it. It will also take you through some more information, talk about how depth of water changes salinity. And then the second part of the experiment is creating what we call kind of a salt wedge. And I've seen this done with bottles. I've also seen it done just in a regular plastic tub container that's clear by very gently pouring in water, each type of the water. So what you're really doing is you have two types of bottles with varying degrees of salinity. So one would be with a higher content of salt water, and the other one would have fresh water. You mix the two together and you can see how they change. So in this one, you're going to see how the density changes, how the lighter water, the less dense water will rise to the top, and how the more dense water, which is salt water because it contains sodium chloride, will sink to the bottom. But this can also be done if you, this would be done by demonstration, you know, in a very controlled environment. Me being a science teacher, I was, you know, I always had tubs out because inevitably it would get spilled. So, you know, be prepared when you're dealing with water that you might have some spill. So you can either put buckets down, or instead of using bottles, we've also used just tubs to where you can see that exchange of salt water. But what you do is the low salinity bottle, you are going to place on the bottom, and the higher salinity bottle you place on top, and there's a little card that's separating the two of them at the time. And once you have them positioned, and you might take some people holding them, you remove the card and you can see the transfer of the fresh water to the top, and then the heavier saltwater sinks to the bottom. Sorry, I have to think about that with the colors. But this is a really fantastic STEAM lesson to do with your students. That's housed on the MAIF website. You can download this, add this to your digital files. And then we have another one, Maryland Blue Crabs activity. You know, we all love the beloved blue crab. This takes you kind of through the life cycle of blue crab to adult, talks about blue crabs as a commodity and a revenue source for the Maryland area, and then gives you a delicious recipe for crab dip pretzels. So this would be another fun one to do in the classroom. And then we always encourage getting kids outdoors, and preparing the soil for planting activity is one of my favorites. We'll click on this. When people think of soil, you know, they think there's not a whole lot that goes into it, but soil is so complex, and it is really the foundation of a healthy ecosystem. So it takes students through what it means to have healthy soil, and some of the tools that are involved in, you know, cultivating soil and growing plants. We have some videos about collecting soil samples. And then the beloved earthworm soil test. So what they're going to do is they actually create little quadrats like they would do in an actual field investigation. And first they would kind of like look through the area, make some observations of what the ground looks like. And they would like remove a little piece of the soil, put some leaves down, organic matter, and then they can pull the leaves up and see kind of how many earthworms are in there. We know that if there's a lot of earthworms, there's a lot of aeration going on. We're putting some organic matter back into the soil, but this would also be a good opportunity to talk about invasive worms like jumping worms that are not so great to have around. So this could bring in discussion of invasive species and talk about, you know, cost benefit to having different varieties of worms. So this is a really popular one for students, and we recommend some really great literature to get them excited about that and having some discussions. It would be really good for like a pre-read before the lesson to get them talking about what worms do and what their role is in our environment. So these are just a few that are housed on the MAIF website that I encourage you to take a look at. It's so much fun. Kids absolutely love it. And if you ever have any thoughts about the lessons, or you'd like to see some on the website, or if you know things don't quite go quite right with them in your classroom, you know, let us know. And we would be happy to modify them or put out an alternate version. If you have some suggestions, we're open, open to suggestions, because we are here for you. And we want to provide you with the most accessible classroom ready materials that we can. So please reach out to us, share your stories with us. If you use any of these in the classroom, please let us know and post on our social media. It's NAEF Inc. And yeah, follow along with the rest of the week. We've got some really great stuff coming up and a field trip on Friday. So thank you so much for being with us this week.